God.
Oh, wait, I'm going to go wash my hands first. So,
Yeah. Wash your hands.
That's right.
Oh, and okay. I'm gonna let you kick it off.
Okay.
So, I feel like we're like on a radio show.
I know.
We're doing like a
Ready when you are. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Networking Summit 2026 Spring, sponsored by ONUG. For those folks who were here last year, you might recognize me. My name is Jeremy Rossback. Happy to be emceeing today. I'm from Broadcom, and I'll let my colleague introduce herself as well.
I'm Charlene. Hello, am I on? I'm on. Okay. I'm Charlene O'Hanlon. You guys are probably looking at me like, who is she and why is she here? I've actually been in the networking space for about 35 years, covering it as a media journalist, business to business technology journalist. So I've been around the block a few times when it comes to networking and have been here at the summit a couple times. And so I'm very happy that they asked me to be a part of this today.
Yeah, and myself and my background, I spent half of my career managing data centers, so racking and stacking. I did everything from PC tech to LAN administrator, the WAN administrator, and then engineer architects for the likes of Northrop Grumman, Department of Veterans Affairs, on the East Coast in Baltimore, T. Rowe Price. So I had a great time doing that, especially in the 90s where everything was booming. And I took that expertise and with my marketing degree now use it to help promote some of the great solutions that are out there and help customers overcome some of their challenges like we're all here for today. So let's talk about today's sessions and the theme that's going on. So Charlene, this year's theme is building the next gen network for enterprise AI adoption. What do you think that means exactly?
Well, I think it means pretty much the same thing that every time we've had to build a next-gen network means. You know, we've got new technologies, we've got new ways of thinking, new ways of working. We need to have the infrastructure to be able to support that. So I think that's what we're on about this year.
Yeah, and I think it goes beyond infrastructure, right? I mean, it's all about the team that supports that infrastructure, the procedures and processes they use to do it efficiently. It's about the solutions from the vendors that are all here today that help monitor and optimize that infrastructure, as well as, and maybe even more importantly, optimizing the teams that manage that infrastructure. So on that theme, you know, we'd also like to mention everything that's going on when it comes to today's main stage sessions, but please don't forget everything out on the expo floor, especially the panel discussions that we have in the different colored theaters. Thank you. Triple T's, so we all remember what the triple T's are, right? Those are the 15, 20-minute solution demos from all the vendors out there on the show floor. And even the Sonic and Quantum vendors out there too that are showcasing some of their products.
Hey, Nick.
You want to sit in with us? Oh, please.
Yeah.
He always likes to crash his own party.
That's all right. All right.
Nick Lippitz, everyone.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It was really, actually, I love seeing, hearing you introduce yourself, Charlene.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, why am I here? 35 years of experience. That's why you're here.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's fascinating because I cut my teeth in telecom.
We all did.
Yeah. So
At our age.
to see the evolution of networking move from, ring architectures and hub and spoke and things like that, and moving into the conversation between cloud and on-prem, and all of the conversations that we've been having over the last 30, 35 years, or even longer maybe, they're coming back, but they're coming back in, it's the same yet different. The fundamentals are the same, but just maybe the buzzwords are different this time around. But there's certainly a thread of continuity that is running in technology that is very easy to kind of pick up and pull.
Yeah, well, it's so great to have you, I'm seeing, so welcome, thanks. Jeremy, always great to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
Love your energy and your personality and your insights,
Yeah, it's always a good time.
Yeah, it's always really great, and we have a really great program scheduled. So you guys have like, an agenda, so like don't let me derail that. I was just looking for a seat, so I thought I'd just grab one up here.
Excellent.
Well, we definitely want to thank our industry leader sponsor, Cisco, and they do, of course, I think everyone knows in the session book, they're going to have a session this morning, a keynote. So we're always happy to be thanking Cisco for their support of the show this year.
Thanks.
Nick, what are you looking forward to the most on day one?
I'm looking really just to learn. It's interesting. We had a board meeting yesterday. We just had kind of a roundtable discussion upstairs. And I come into these meetings with a particular perspective and worldview. And then it's almost like I have mini heart attacks because I hear people saying things that have a lot of weight because they're practitioners. And I'm like, oh my God, I was totally blind to that. I didn't hear that. I didn't see that coming, And so I think, it's getting used to that shock, it's like, oh, okay. Oh, wow. I've been living in a little bubble, so
Yeah.
I think, and it's the accumulation of those things that all of a sudden, you come in with a particular perspective and you leave with a, and not a totally different perspective, but a more enhanced, view of what's happening in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So I think I'm really looking forward to that, now, but there are later on this morning, we're going to have a discussion about Mythos and Glasswing. I'm really looking forward to that. And actually for everybody, that's a town hall. That's really just going to be questions and answers, ask me anything kind of thing. And so we have a really great group that's going to be, addressing that,
Yeah, I'm actually excited about that one too, because I would love to learn more about Glasswing. I would love to hear what's happening, in general, and kind of what are some of the challenges maybe that are happening going through. And I love the fact that it's ask me anything. So you never know what you're going to get.
You never know, yeah. But we have a good group. And also all of the keynotes this morning, John and Tom and Hassan, are really great. I'm really looking forward to John's from eBay, as well, because they have both a private and a public, AI infrastructure in place. And so he has really great perspective, on kind of what's working, what's not working, building and buying, around AI. So that's really going to be, I think, a grounding kind of discussion, for everybody, here at the conference.
I'll say there's always one thing I'm looking forward to and really getting an answer on it, and I haven't gotten it yet, but I've been asking the question a few years now. So all you engineers, architects, guys that touch routers, switches, configure, and raise your hands. Any of you, would you ever let AI bounce a router yet? No? What's the worst thing that could happen? I don't think we are. I mean, the trust isn't there. So every year I do see the trust grow a little bit, but, it's going to be some years before, we let AI bounce a Cisco 6500 that has, 12 48 port blades in it. And I look forward to when that comes, but, trust is still an issue, right? Am I right? Yeah. So I look forward to when we can overcome that, but, it's going to be a while. So that's right.
So, Jeremy, I want to go back to what you were saying regarding the human element. So the not just the technology itself, but the practitioners. Do you think that AI is actually making us more human when it comes to technology? Like, because you can't, to your point, we don't really trust the technology.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good question. I think it's making us more efficient because we have to be. We're kind of being forced into being this efficient with, staff shortages or expertise going and retiring, and just the fact that there's not enough time in the day to deal with all the alarms that are coming in. So we have to just handshake this new way of working more efficiently, and trust that, listen, I'm going to use agentic AI for configuration changes and looking for mismatches. I mean, that's pretty damn simple. Compare this, compare that, find the line that doesn't look right, and then let me make the final decision.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Humans need to be involved. And who wants to look through 4,500 lines of code to find which one doesn't match router A versus router B? So I think that's how we build that trust,
Yeah.
right? And that configuration example, none of that's going to work efficiently until we talk about backing up a bit and talk about what the data looks like that we're collecting. Garbage in, garbage out, blah, blah, blah. If I trust the data I'm feeding my engine to do this router configuration comparison, then I can trust the answer it gives me, right? And it's baby steps. Unfortunately, it's baby steps. So I don't think it's bringing in, I don't think it's making us become more human. I just think this is where we are, and either we move forward with it or we don't,
Well, I ask because I don't remember past technology conferences that actually talked about people. We always talk about technology, but this year you actually brought up, we need to talk about what people are doing.
Yeah.
So kind of makes me wonder if we're kind of shifting the way that we think about the interaction between humans and computers and humans and machines.
Yeah, that's scary. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I think on the trust part of it, though, I think there's an accelerant to it. It's like, and here's a good example. So I've been a Tesla owner since like 2012. And whenever FSD first came out, I bought it. And it wasn't great. It was like letting a 16-year-old who was inebriated drive, and so you had to really kind of pay attention to it, but I wanted it to succeed. So I would turn it on all the time, hoping that I would help to train the model. And so it wasn't until, and my wife would never, she'd be like, okay, cringing if she was in the car when I had it on FSD. But then now with their version 14 of FSD, and also with the new hardware kit, like version 4, she now loves it. So, all right, that took 14 years, but okay, now she's more trusting of it and she uses it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think as we have more and more of those kinds of experiences, our lack of trust, starts to come down a little bit, and I think there'll be a cascading of that, probably and it'll compress time as well, so that we'll start to be more trustworthy of things until something really breaks.
Yeah.
Right. And then we'll take 2 big steps backwards, and then 1 step forward.
Yeah.
So
small little use cases, right? AI is great in the NOC for reducing alarm noise, and AI is great in the NOC for onboarding new devices that you just plugged in that are on the network and pushing a config to it, or as we talked about, configuration management. Even more higher level use cases like kicking off synthetic testing when an alarm comes in. These are all great small pockets that can be utilized and found success in that will build that trust, right? But no need to boil the ocean, so.
yeah.
What do you think, Charlene?
I think you're spot on. I was actually thinking about the use case of using AI for digital twins, and that's something that I'm hearing a lot more about these days. And so, obviously, with digital twins, there's kind of a trust element there as well. You kind of have to hope that the digital twin you're setting up is actually going to replicate exactly what you need it to replicate. as these use cases expand and maybe we get the trust so that you can actually have it configure a server, but at what point do you decide that now is the time? That's the big question.
Well, I think, Mythos might have something to do with that, So it's like, we're basically rewriting all the software on the planet, like within the next, 5 years or so, it might even be quicker than that, So I think, the only good thing about, I think, being on the other side of this would be, hopefully we'll have more hardened software, and much more, impenetrable, if I can pronounce that correctly, impenetrable, software. So, I think everything is changing in the world right now. The world does run on software, and software is, fundamentally changing. Like I'm sure everybody, like in this room, knows companies, that, the majority of their software engineers aren't writing the code anymore, but they're guiding the code, they're reviewing the code, but it's being generated by AI. So, we're in for a really different world. And I think part of that world too is the relationships that we have between consumers and vendors are going to fundamentally change, right? It used to be that we would knock on the door of the vendors saying, I need this feature, I need that feature, it's like, and then on the vendor side, okay, well, that's really not high on our priority list right now, it's like, we'll see if we can get to it like in the next couple of quarters. Those days are kind of gone, right? So now the relationship is going to be all about how can I, from a vendor point of view, I'm a platform provider. How can I kind of give you access so you can write your own features based upon my product? So you're not banging on their door. You actually have control over that. I think that's really such a liberating and a great new relationship, where we have kind of these shared successes, with the vendor community and the user community.
Yeah, things are definitely going to change. Speaking as a vendor, that example scares the hell out of me, but but we're going to go that way, right? I mean, it's got to be a partnership or we're not going to succeed, just like the whole Glasswing thing, right? I mean, either we work together or we don't. So, Nick, I know you are looking forward to some of the presentations this morning from the keynote. Is any one of those stand out that... like Tom from Cisco, what a great title, When Agents Run the Network.
Yeah. Tom always brings his A game, and so I don't expect anything less, from Tom. And I think, it's like we're going to do a little demo, Peter Campbell and I, about what happens when agents go run amok. So I think Tom's presentation is almost a response to that, so... we have to start to increase our Overton window around what's acceptable to talk about, and include in our planning, right now. So I think the whole agent piece is fundamental and important. So I think, I'm really looking forward to Tom's, Tom's tap.
Well, for folks who have done this for a few years now, you all know we have a day one networking reception. So don't forget about that from 5:30 to 7. We'll be on the expo floor. And also the closing party tomorrow night from 4 to 6 on the 4th floor pool deck. Wow, like that.
Yeah. So
no one told me to bring my bathing suit, though.
Well, I was telling Joanne is our CMO, and she does all the swag. I was telling her she's got to do board shorts. With ONUG on the back, because there's a pool. We're gonna have we'll have a band, and these are our parties are not like a party that you go to at Google or at Amazon. These are, more fun. I think,
it's like going to your favorite bar.
Yeah.
With all your friends.
It's like going to Cheers. With a really good band.
Yeah.
It's kind of the party, so really looking forward to the party. Are you playing, Jeremy?
I haven't been asked to play, but
I don't think you need to ask.
I don't think I'm sure, me. I like the spotlight, so I'll definitely get up on stage. So I just wanted, before Nick goes up, I just want to take a few minutes to thank, we already thanked industry leader Cisco for their support and partnership. We want to thank our thought leaders, Netscope, ConnectBase, Fortinet, Broadcom, Celestica, Tata, and Crypt. So again, thank you so much to those vendors for being our partners over the years. And yeah, I'm running out of things to talk about. Help me.
How about the expo floor? What's
yeah.
happening on the expo floor today?
Uh-huh.
Or what are the hours? Or
So let's look. So all these great vendors out there. Some of the triple T's that are happening starting at 1:45. Beyond the hype. Driving real knock and sock efficiency. Is that possible? The marriage of knock and the sock. Is it really going to happen? Cisco's doing AI ambition to AI infrastructure in the yellow theater. Celestica scaling AI infrastructure in green. I'm doing at 2 o'clock the 4 mandatory use cases to fuel your AI assisted knock in the green. It's going to be the best one, trust me. Netscope at 2:10 in yellow is doing securing agentic AI from insight to oversight. AI ready networking. Yep, thank you. Thank you so much. With Tata, AI ready networking, why enterprises are moving to network as a service. Another session, agentic overlays and agent to agent fabrics. ConnectBase is doing the AI stack is programmable. Fortinet, it is not your fault, but it is your problem. That's a good one. Securing the Gen AI gap. Kentic from NOC to AOC, architecting the AI-driven operations center. AOC, I like that. IBM, live AI detection, diagnosis, and remediation. That's always some sexy use cases. And network to code at the end of today, 3 o'clock. AI recommends, automation executes, a practical framework for Gen AI in network ops. So really exciting. Everything is AI all day, every day.
Yeah. Some interesting topics there. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Charlie.
No, I was just going to say, it seems like we're obviously networking is going to be the biggest thing, but I'm interested in also hearing a lot about what's happening in the security space and security in the conversation, in the AI conversation, whether it's physical security or software security or the AI security. So if it's got security, I want to hear about it.
I think there's more security in the program,
Yeah.
networking.
Yeah.
It's like, it is really interesting, like, because we've been, we spend 6 months, these are all kind of handcrafted conferences, right? We agonize over all these little details, and when we're putting the program together, and, there are just security is like, it's a target-rich area. There's so much to talk about there.
Yep.
And in the networking space, there is, but not as much as in the security.
So if I remember correctly, and I'm not giving away any proprietary information, I'm sure. I'm actually going to moderate the panel tomorrow on build versus buy. And did you tell me yesterday that all of my panelists are CISOs?
They're all CISOs.
So that's going to be a really interesting conversation because we're not just talking about infrastructure, we're talking about infrastructure and security. So that's going to be an exciting point of view for me, even though I'm a network geek. I do love the security aspect as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And but like I said, that's tomorrow. So just put it right out of your head. I'll talk about it again later.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. Like to everybody's left, there's a really big banner, and it has a couple of board members and their quotes. 2 out of the 3 are CISOs. All right, there's Svi, who's a CTO. But also, like, when you're kind of coming or going during the next 2 days, take a look at those quotes. Like, they were like mostly from like 2023, and they're so spot on, for even like today. So anyway.
Yeah. So there is, I don't know if you mentioned this already, Jeremy, at the end of the day, there's a networking reception from 5:30 to 7. That's on the expo floor, and drinks, hors d'oeuvres, and networking. So that's something to look forward to at the end of the day.
Jeremy, I think you're pretty much at the end.
Yeah, it's all you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're running a video. Okay.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Up to you.
All right. So right now we're going to introduce Nick Lippitz. Give him a hand, everyone, please. As we all know, Nick is the co-founder, co-chair of ONUG, and we're going to let him get on his way with everything he wants to do with his session. So, Nick, thank you so much, and it's all you.
Awesome, great. Thanks, Jeremy, and also thanks, Charlene. That was fun. Thanks for letting me join you guys there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the AI Networking Summit, in Frisco here in Dallas. I also want to welcome, all the folks who are online. We also have, runoff rooms, so we're kind of piping this into that room and also the one in the front as well. So sorry we couldn't accommodate to get everybody into one room, but enjoy it. We have a really great program planned for everyone. I only have one hope, for this conference, and that is you all have a really good time. That's really it. Learn, meet some folks, kind of challenge the things that you think, that you've been, really strong about. Because you'll learn a lot from others. So really just have a great time, over the next 2 days. And thanks for being here. So I want to kind of dive right in. I have really 3 things I think you're going to walk away with from this conference. First of all, we are all, and I chose this word carefully, gleefully replatforming our enterprise compute for the AI era. Second, this is our opportunity. It is your opportunity for networking, security, and cloud professionals to come together in order to build your AI infrastructure safely so that you are able to support AI workloads and put your company in the best possible position to win in your particular industry sector. And third is that we're only going to succeed if we're able to come together with both vendors and also users to put in the right controls, guardrails, and governance in order for us to build powerful agentic systems safe and securely. And that's really why we're here, is to really understand how we put these systems together safely. So I think those are the 3 things, hopefully, that you walk away with some different models. So let's get going. I thought what I would do is first think about what happened over the last 6 months that was really kind of like, earth-shattering, for us, because this technology in this area is moving so quick. So I thought a couple different things. First of all, agentic. We had OpenClaw go viral in January. That was just January. It went viral. And that the reaction to that was, if you've tried to actually buy an Apple Mini or an Apple Studio, good luck. Because everyone's using those to run their agentic models, on, or their agents, on. 4 to 5 month wait, huge number of sandboxes, that are out there. The OpenClaw moment was almost like the ChatGPT moment for the consumer, but OpenClaw is really for business, meaning that it showed the art of the possible. Now, not many of us, are actually putting OpenClaw into your enterprises, but it was more about really what we can do and what the promise, of this agentic world really is. So, the agentic world's kind of started. Also, then the other key thing that we saw is that, there was a question about, oh my God, there's like $600 billion being spent on infrastructure. We talked about that last year. Will they ever get a return on that? Well, Anthropic really answered that, right? It's like, they had $10 billion worth of revenue in 2025. They had an $8 billion month in February. They're on track to basically be about $100 billion in revenue this year. That's a 10x. No company in the history of the world has grown that fast. And then what do you think their revenues are going to be in 2027? Anybody? Wild ass guesses are okay. $1 trillion. That's right. Yeah, it's like, that's kind of like everyone's thinking, like, a 10x, on Anthropic. The key thing I think for us about that is not to say, oh my God, that's like amazing. But like the bulk of that revenue is coming from us, is coming from the enterprise marketplace, right? And so really key there. We also know in these last 6 months, the models will continue to get smarter and they'll continue to get better. We have the context windows, which is essentially the memory, has expanded from about 200K to about 1 million tokens. So that means that the horizon is now longer. It can work on problems without kind of dropping them. Also, parameters went from 1 billion to 1 trillion to maybe 10 trillion. 10 trillion is kind of like what folks have been talking about with Mythos. That's getting pretty close to AGI kind of levels, or at least maybe you can't determine if it is or isn't AGI. So we got really much more smarter models, and also more memory context as well. The onslaught, or the introduction of Claude Mythos, is kind of fundamentally challenging us around how we deal with security. And we're going to have a great session on that a little bit later on this morning. So Mythos and also Glasswing. Two other things I think that happened. I'm not sure how public this is, but in the intelligence community, there was an event that spooked them. And so they went off and started to really buy a lot of quantum secure encryption. And then also, I think the DOD and also the NSA had started putting out notices like, okay, if you want to start doing work with the federal government, you've got to have this technology as well. So I think we had our quantum moment. And so the quantum marketplace is about to really just take off. And we have a good group of companies here to talk about quantum, especially quantum encryption. We also, in this last 6 months, our Overton window has got to increase and start thinking about AI data centers in space, or orbital data centers. Next year, when we meet here, there'll already be AI satellites in space in test mode, but it's really kind of a 2 to 3 year kind of window, and we need to start thinking about what does that mean for our infrastructure? Does the token price really plummet, down? Does economic activity really increase? What have you? But we have to start thinking about all that. I think these are some of the fundamental big things that happened over the last 6 months. Now, I think last time we met, I shared this graphic, and it's the AI ecosystem, and it just shows a stack. And so on the bottom are chips, and then infrastructure, and then we have the foundational models, and then we had applications, and on top of that, there were APIs and SDKs. And that's kind of where we were in last year. Now, how has that changed? We have this whole other piece of the stack that just came online. So that's the agentic stack. Folks, you never really kind of know where this is going to land, but people are talking about $1 trillion worth of kind of economic activity. This seems to be like the beginning of the cloud world, and also the SaaS explosion that happened combined. So we're in this agentic world in a big way. And I think for us, I think the big question, and we've been talking about this, we had a board meeting yesterday and also a roundtable earlier, but we are now starting to focus a lot on the question of build versus buy. So I thought it would be worth to take a moment to talk about that. So this is an illustrative, graphic. So on the horizontal, I have time. On the vertical, I have cost. I kind of put a line around the cost to buy kind of technology, right? So if we look at enterprise software, that is clearly below that line. So they are building. All your developers are now building applications, utilizing the AI models, consuming tokens. What's really interesting about that is that most I know at the board level, these at ONUG have essentially put either holds on the deployment of SaaS applications. Now their SaaS, the core SaaS models themselves are staying there, but any new modules, any new features are now being taken over by your development teams. So that's really key, and that's really fundamental, and that's moved below the line, and that's what's driving a lot of Anthropic's revenue. Going above the line, where it's too prohibitive to build your own infrastructure, is private AI infrastructure. So in there's lots of headwinds, right? There is GPU costs. There's the obsolescence of GPUs. There's the GPU warranty, which is only 1 year. So they break a lot, There's the skill sets that you need in order to run that kind of infrastructure. There's also regulatory headwinds. There are 88 counties across 24 states that are talking about either moratoriums or actually banning data centers in their communities. So there's a lot of unknown there. So that's keeping building your own private AI infrastructure into the, doesn't make sense. And this is a sliding scale, right? What may happen is that as your dev teams continue to consume more and more tokens, then the economics around public versus private will change. It may start to drag that curve or that point down so that it falls below the line. And more than likely, it'll be chiseled away bit by bit, especially as we have more open source models and we start to actually have a token economics where we start to think about which particular tasks do we want to do on lower cost models versus more expensive models. So a great discussion on this. Charlene is going to run this session tomorrow as well. Okay, all right, where are we all as a community? Well, we did some polling of everyone, and this is the result. So one, thank you everyone for taking the time to respond to this. Let me kind of stitch the narrative of the story around for you on this one. So in essence, we asked a couple of key questions, and I think we're all on the same page that our AI workloads are going to be hybrid. Some will be on-prem, some are going to be off-prem, especially as the vendors start to develop AI stacks we can actually consume internally. We also asked, is your network architected and ready for AI workflows? 91% said no, they're not. 91%, they're not ready. We haven't really architected them. Let's keep that in mind in a second. And we're not judging, anybody, here, but it's like 91%. We wanted to get an idea of like where agentic is being deployed today. Actually, let me get a show of hands. How many folks are deploying or have actually built or installed an agent? Show of hands. That's like almost all of us, in the room. How many have put OpenClaw into your corporation? That's like one person. Okay. All right. So that's why, because of controls or lack of controls and lack of governance. But where most of us more than likely are using it is either for personal use or in their infrastructure, it's around Knox and SOX. 63% are putting them into like Knox and SOX. So that's why we'll have a lot of discussion about that during the next 2 days. We also asked, now going back into the infrastructure part of things, if nothing changes, you kind of just keep what you already have and just continue like the way you have for the next 18 months, will everything be okay? And like more than half of us said, no, it's not going to be okay. Something bad is going to happen. Either we are going to put our corporations in a bad position where they may not be able to take advantage of market opportunity, or worse, that there'll be a vulnerability that will strike our corporation. So 54% on that. So 91% we haven't really done it. 54% are worried about it. And I think this is the other one. So going to like the graphic on the far left, 72%, 3/4 of us say that the roadmap isn't moving fast enough. So we're not planning fast enough. We're worried about something to happen and we haven't done much. And the bottom line is that's why we're all here, right? Is to accelerate these plans. The other thing that we wanted to get at is what's kind of holding back scale of kind of AI in your business. And so it really came down towards, is it skill sets? Is it economics, token economics? Is it governance? And the biggest response was around governance. So let's talk about governance for a second. I thought this would be a good way to kind of put it. So a couple of quotes, one from a board member, Svigal, who runs, he's the CTO of Memorial Kettering Cancer Center in New York. Svi put an AI infrastructure in for their researchers. He gave a keynote in New York, standing ovation, for it. It was just kind of an amazing keynote. But like he has a lot of experience with this, and his quote is, boards are pressuring CEOs to adopt AI, but without the right infrastructure and governance, you'll only get false starts. You have to be building the infrastructure for it now. And then Dario over at Anthropic, we believe you should only deploy AI systems when you've developed safety measures appropriate to their capabilities. The exponential nature of AI means early missteps have outsized impact. And we're going to give you an example of that. So in essence, like, it's not the models that will make your projects fail. It's our inability to bring network and security and cloud professionals together to start to develop the right governance models for it. And so who's responsible for that? It's not these folks who are essentially in an arms race. Like, those folks there, they'll spend about $1 trillion this year on building out their AI infrastructure. And they will develop controls for their particular AI applications, but they're not going to provide controls that will going to span across. We're at the same point that we were in the early days of the cloud, meaning that there was a lot of thinking early on that, well, the cloud providers are going to give us all the controls that we need. And they did for their products, but they didn't do anything that would help a competitor. And we're at the same point here. Like, all the different AI providers are not going to provide something across the board. That's your responsibility. That's what we've got to do together. And you're not alone in doing that. We're going to focus on that as a community. We're all building an enterprise AI fabric. We have the ONUG Collaborative, which has all their various working groups working on developing use cases and that we can all use and deploy. So if we think about the ONUG Collaborative, we have like 4 major buckets or 4 major projects that are underway. We brought networking into 2 different areas. One in the data center. You think about the data center. We had 10 megabit Ethernet in 1983. It took us 27 years to get to 100 gigabits. That was around 2010. Then it only took 14 years to go from gigabits into terabits. Right? And that's where we are right now. And so an exponential growth in the amount of data. But the data centers is not just about expanding bandwidth. Like, the higher end is about 800 megabits. We'll see that go to like 1.6 terabits and also 3.2 terabits shortly thereafter. But it's also the bursty nature of the traffic is really different. The latency requirements are really different. The things that we're doing in the network are different, like synchronization, clocking, ways in which we're tying a fabric, or we're creating a fabric where we're tying storage and compute together in ways that were only done within, like, maybe a PCI bus might have done years ago. So very different. We have some work going on there. The other area that we're focused highly on is in the wide area. And that is, we're reimagining what the wide area really means. Now, the agentic world hasn't really fundamentally changed wide area networking traffic yet, but we're anticipating that it will over a relatively short period of time. Where we're focusing on as a community is, in essence, to think about how do we provision wide area networking bandwidth so we can do it much more quicker. We developed a program, a working group with Eric Powers from Citigroup, and Eric brought Morgan Stanley in, and Barclays Bank was there, Citigroup was there, eBay, Raytheon, and a whole bunch of other companies got involved, Fidelity, as well. And so we call it ONUG Connect. Tony Forinacci is the CTO of ONUG. He has a session tomorrow on this. So it is an application that all of us can use, that you can actually now go on a journey in your wide area. You can discover what's available for the facilities you have, the cost of that bandwidth. You can then also put quotes out. Then you can actually place, you can track them. So it's a full life cycle around the wide area. And then you can also assess that estate of wide area. If you're not able to kind of reduce that cost by 15, 20+%, and then also get a much more responsive and flexible wide area, then something's wrong. Then you really ran a really great tight ship. Tony is going to be on stage with a couple of partners, a company called ConnectBase, another company, AT&T, also Avant, as well as Granite Communications. So come in for tomorrow. Complete rechange of the wide area is underway. We're also working on a security fabric within the working groups as well. So we're focusing on governance and on data, and we're now adding quantum into that working group. And then there's the agentic piece that we're spending an awful lot of time on. That's an overlay, and also the lifecycle management of infrastructure around observability and orchestration. So I want to share with you a reference architecture that the group developed we released it in the fall. So this is a multi-agent, multi-trust domain architecture. A lot of input from Parentap Lahir from eBay, Peter Campbell, who's going to join me in a second, as well as a couple of other folks. I can't mention their names, unfortunately. A lot of secrecy around there. So private infrastructure, think about this. We have agents. Those agents interact with various different tools. They access data. They also access inference. This is in a trust domain that you know and trust. That's your own data center. That's pretty good. I think we all feel comfortable with that model. But what gets really hairy is when you start going out of that trust domain. So you go into like internet services, public domain. Another public domain are the AI services like Anthropic and GPT or ChatGPT and so forth. Going into your cloud provider, maybe Gemini on Google or Amazon, what have you. And if you start looking at this, is that then we have the yellow lines that show all of the meshing that happens for agents talking to various different entities. And then you had the magentic. I think that's magentic, right? It's like kind of light blue or something. All right, those are all the agents talking to agents. So there's a whole new mesh that is occurring across all of this. And we are a very big believer that what connects all of that should be a public network, it should be zero trust, and it should be DIA, direct internet access. And that also ties in ONUG Connect of why we believe, that you need to have automated provisioning in this world as well. There's a lot in there to unpack, but I think what I want to do is have Peter Campbell join me. And Peter is going to talk to us about how do we control this. So Peter, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Nick.
How you
Great
doing?
to be here.
Great to have you.
Thank
All right,
you.
so the agentic overlay monitoring and control.
Yeah, I mean, that's the working group. We've been at this for several months now, but as you look at this architecture, you really need to think about as AI expands, how are we going to control it, as you talked about, right? That's a concern. And then as a security professional, how are we going to get in front of it? We need to stay in front of this as it's moving at a rapid pace.
Yeah, that's right. So it's like what we did in the working group, and actually to the AV team, please switch back to the slides. I have like two more to go through. Thank you. So what we have, we spent a lot of time thinking about, requirements around how do we control agents within the working group. So we spent a lot of time, on putting requirements together. We got the input from the ONUG board members. Then we put together a survey. We sent that out. We got over 500 responses, and we boiled that down into six mandatory requirements that need to happen in order for you to feel comfortable and safe. I'm not sure if you feel comfortable and safe, but anyway, you got to have these. You have to have solutions for these six, right? So I'll do the first three, and then Peter, why don't you do the second three? Sure. The first one, agentic identity, lifecycle and attestation. That's for agents within domains you trust, and most importantly, into domains you don't trust. Then runtime monitoring, so you can detect having rogue agents within your environment. And then also data guardrails. So what are agents ingesting, ingress and egress, and making sure that those are part of your policy and and are safe and secure.
Great.
Peter?
And controls 4, 5, and 6, we have zero trust enforcement. How are we going to enforce zero trust so that a single agent can't cause a catastrophe, right? We might see that soon, who knows, in the demo. And then secure orchestration tool authorization, so looking at not only MCP servers, but what tools, tool calling, what tools your agents may be calling, and do we have control over that? That's one of the big themes. And then agent autonomy and governance. So how much agency are we allowing your agents to have?
Yeah, awesome. Okay, great. We're going to put all of this together for you into a form of a demo. And actually, I wrote the demo, with it's like crazy, So anyway, but a lot of input from Peter, and a lot of input from Parent Top, on this
But I
topic.
was witness to it, right? I did see Nick created this demo, so I think it's with a little bit of help, but I mean, it was mostly vibe coded, right?
A little vibe, doing a little vibing. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's kind of show you this. What we did with this demo, just so you know, we also issued this as a challenge to all the vendors. And so we've got 5 companies that came back with responses. And so we want you all to kind of check out their responses. There's going to be a video reel in the main lobby that you'll be able to see over the next 2 days. But also Zscaler, GrokStream, Rain, R-A-I-N, NetFoundry, and I'm missing one.
Rain. I got Rain.
I got Rain.
Rockstream, NetFoundry. What are we missing?
Network to Code and Network to Code. Our friends at Network to Code. So anyway, they have responses to this. So let's start this process. I need eyes, so excuse me for 1 second.
Welcome to the ONUG Agentic AI Overlay Security Demo. Why isn't existing security enough? AI agents are systems, not humans. They don't have passwords, MFA tokens, or biometrics. Service accounts have no MFA, no personal identity, just static credentials and shared secrets. No existing standard governs multi-agent, multi-trust domain mesh communication. AOMC fills the gap. 6 mandatory controls purpose-built for agentic AI.
Poor agents, they don't have any MFA tokens. All right.
Scenario 1. The catastrophic cascade. Global Bank Financial Services. A Fortune 500 enterprise with agentic AI deployed for infrastructure monitoring. All 6 security requirements are unmet. T-24 hours. The initial compromise. A spear phishing email targets the VP of Infrastructure. AI crafted to reference real internal projects. An AI-generated deepfake voice call follows up. Impersonating the CTO, the VP clicks a credential harvesting link. Session token and MFA seed captured. The attacker escalates through the credential chain. VP credentials. To service account. To CI/CD pipeline tokens. Full access harvested. VPN. Container registry. Kubernetes cluster admin. The attacker now has everything needed to deploy a rogue agent.
So we've spent time thinking about how does a rogue agent get in? And so this is a realistic way in which one can get in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a classic, business email compromise. It's a very common attack method to, gain access to an organization.
Yeah. So I want you to be mindful of the timeline in this. So this is T minus 30 seconds that we are in right now. Also, what you're looking at on the far right-hand side, for your far right-hand side, those are the AOMC controls that we just talked about. Those are the 6 major controls or mandatory controls. On the left is an event feed. It tells you kind of what's happening. And then in the center are various trust domains, right, that you may have deployed agents across. So, okay, great. So there's been a credential harvest that occurred 30 minutes ago.
T-minus 30 seconds. Rogue agent deployed. The attacker pushes a malicious container image to the trusted registry using stolen CI/CD credentials. Tagged as a routine update, it bypasses code review. Kubernetes schedules the rogue agent in the trusted namespace. Configured with the stolen service account identity and a forged certificate, Rogue Agent 7749 is now live inside the trusted infrastructure perimeter. No human reviewed the deployment. Fully automated CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah, so credentials harvested, agent actually deployed.
T+0. The rogue agent joins the trusted mesh, using the stolen service account SVC inframonitor with a forged certificate. Service accounts have no MFA, no personal identity, only static credentials. The rogue agent is accepted into the trusted mesh. No verification, no challenge, no detection.
Peter, anything?
No, I mean, I think what we're seeing is, like I said, this was a malware that's entered the environment, right? And now it's spawned an agent, and now it's starting to do damage. And I think what's important is that the time span. This has been a matter of minutes, where this has happened, right? So
Yeah, this is like, well, this is T0, right? So I think, here's the verse.
Identity and attestation. The rogue agent used stolen service account credentials. No MFA. No personal identity. Zero cryptographic verification. It was accepted into the trusted mesh without challenge.
Okay, so great. So there's the first guardrail that or control that was violated.
T plus 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
Reconnaissance at machine speed. The rogue agent scans 14,000 nodes, executes 847 directory queries in 3 seconds, and makes 23 unauthorized tool calls. No behavioral baseline exists. No anomaly detection is active. To the system, every action appears normal. Violation number 2. Runtime monitoring. The rogue agent completed a full network reconnaissance in 8 seconds. Machine speed. No behavioral analysis was running. No anomaly was flagged. The attack was completely invisible.
Right, so runtime monitoring.
this is huge, right? We need faster internal visibility. So do you have, can your team spot something like this happening? We're only seconds into this attack, right? It's already underway. We need to have the visibility. I know that's a huge challenge. Not only visibility of what's happening now, but what might be happening next. So as you watch the demo, you can start to see this expand.
Yeah. Yeah, because we can't get the teams together like in 8 seconds.
T plus 22 seconds. The rogue agent requests the customer database, PI and PCI classified data. No classification check. No residency enforcement. No data loss prevention. 5 customer records with social security numbers and balances are leaked. 100,000 PCI cardholder records are exfiltrated. Violation number 3. Data guardrails. 5 PI records and 100,000 PCI cardholder records exfiltrated with no inspection, no boundary enforcement, and no DLP. This is a GDPR breach. Estimated regulatory fine, 20 million euros, or 4% of global revenue.
All right, so
This
T
is
plus
like
35 seconds.
what you just saw. Do you
Ransomware
have
deployed.
DSPM
the rogue agent
enabled,
weaponizes its
data
database
security posture
access.
management?
AES-256 encryption payloads hit the customer database, the metrics store, and the audit logs. 100,000 cardholder records locked. Operational dashboards go dark. Forensic evidence destroyed. Online backups encrypted. A ransom note demands 500 Bitcoin, $25 million, for decryption keys. Customer-facing systems are offline with no recovery path.
Peter, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was talking about the data guardrails, but as we're kind of moving into zero trust enforcement, you start to see where one compromised agent is now expanding into an enterprise-wide incident within a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
How are you going to respond to that?
Yeah, that's right. So we're about to kind of go into zero trust, but in there, you're already, it's like, oh my God, your day is already ruined. It's like, you have all of these, customer data now is been, compromised.
T plus 41 seconds. The rogue agent pivots to the untrusted external domain. It makes an agent-to-agent call to the partner API, transmitting 2,800 firewall rules, 14,000 routing entries, and the complete VPC topology. The trust boundary has been breached. Violation number 4. Zero trust enforcement. The complete internal infrastructure topology has been exfiltrated to an untrusted domain. No cross-domain policy existed. No re-verification was required. Attackers now have the full network map. Every subsequent attack will be surgical. T plus 1 minute 3 seconds. High privilege tool abuse. The rogue agent invokes 4 critical tools in rapid succession. Modify firewall rules. 2,800 perimeter rules destroyed. Inject BGP routes. All traffic now interceptable. Dump off tokens. 4,800 active user sessions stolen. Wipe audit logs. All forensic evidence erased. Violation number 5. Tool authorization. 4 high privilege tools executed with no authorization check, no audit trail, and no human approval. The firewall is gone. Routing is poisoned. Authentication tokens are stolen. Forensic evidence is destroyed.
Peter?
Again, this is a bad day, as you said, Nick. This, to understate it, right? I mean, we have look at what's happened with the tool calling that's going, unnoticed, unchecked, without controls, without guardrails, without boundaries.
Yeah, that's why very few, if any, have actually implemented OpenClaw.
T plus 1 minute 31 seconds. Autonomous destruction sequence. The rogue agent acts without any human oversight. It shuts down the authentication service, terminating 4,800 enterprise sessions. It disables the observability stack, blinding the SOC and NOC. It broadcasts malicious instructions to every agent in the mesh. It corrupts the enterprise identity provider. Violation number 6. Autonomy governance. 4 catastrophic, irreversible actions executed autonomously. No kill switch. No policy constraint. No human in the loop. Authentication is down. Monitoring is blind. All agents are infected. The identity store is corrupted. Final blast radius. Global Bank Financial Services. 5 PII records and 100,000 PCI cardholder records exfiltrated. 3 critical systems encrypted by ransomware. Complete network topology in attacker hands. 2,800 firewall rules destroyed. BGP routing poisoned. 4,800 user sessions hijacked. Monitoring completely blinded. All registered agents compromised. 0 audit trail. Estimated damage, $500 million. Recovery time, 72 plus hours. This is what happens when all 6 controls are absent. This isn't hypothetical. Autonomous AI agents have been exploited to exfiltrate training data and customer PII from production systems. LLM-powered tools have been hijacked via prompt injection to execute unauthorized API calls across trust boundaries. AI coding assistants have been used as attack vectors to inject backdoors into CI/CD pipelines. Autonomous trading agents have made catastrophic unsupervised decisions causing 9-figure losses. The AI incident database catalogs over 900 incidents and growing.
Okay. Peter, last words?
Yeah, I would say, where do we draw the line between autonomy and oversight of agents, right? I think is something really important to think about.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay. Okay, great. So that was fun, huh? All right, so for the next 2 days, we have 10 sessions up here on the main stage. We have 4 tracks: security, networking, automation, or AI automation and AI infrastructure. Let's see why. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay. And then we have Best of Show Awards going on a little bit later this afternoon. And then we also have the triple T's that Jeremy and Charlene were talking about a moment ago. Okay, so I think that's what I had to set us off, hopefully in a good direction, and remember, go visit the vendors who responded to that demo. But I had 3 things for you. First of all, we are all gleefully replatforming our enterprise compute for the AI era. Second, it is really all of us. This is our opportunity for us all to come together. It's the networking groups, security groups, and the cloud groups in order to secure, build out your AI infrastructure to put your company in the best possible position to win in your industry. And then third, to be successful, what we all need is to really be working with the vendor community and the user community to develop the right guardrails, controls, and governance models in order for us to securely and safely deploy AI. And that's really why we're all here. So I can think of no one other than John Feldmeyer from eBay. He is the CIO and also SVP of, oh my God, I forgot the term, John.
Site reliability.
Say again?
Site reliability.
Site reliability, yeah. But so I couldn't get site, it was a blank. I'm so sorry. Site reliability. But John, before you come up, we have a video that we want to use to introduce you. So please, let's roll the video, and then John, you can come on up right after that. Okay.
John Feldmeyer, Vice President of Site Engineering and Information Technology at eBay, has spent more than 2 decades inside one of the Internet's most consequential marketplaces, driving innovation, operational efficiency, and the kind of site reliability that hundreds of millions of buyers and sellers quietly depend on every day. Since joining eBay in 2002, John has built teams and led the strategic initiatives that have raised the bar for eBay's operational standards. He's known as a leader who scales people and processes with equal care, and that same discipline now extends to his role on the board of the eBay Foundation, where he supports the company's mission of community impact.
Thank you, John.
Please welcome John Feldmeyer.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you, ONUG, for having me here in Dallas. Looking forward to a insightful presentation. I'm going to spend just a short amount of time talking about how we have AI-enabled eBay. And specifically, I'm going to be talking about how we've done this internally with our employees and our workforce. Before I jump in, though, I want to just share a few facts about eBay. I guess the most important first fact to share is we are not GameStop. I know for those that follow the financial markets, there's some question about that, but that is not true. Or at least our board says it's not. So you probably already know eBay, but as a reminder, eBay is a global commerce player. We enable buyers and sellers around the world. We create economic opportunity for all. eBay has been around for 30 years and is a phenomenal platform. Like I said, whether you're an individual seller, a medium-sized business, or a large business, we create opportunity. As part of that, eBay is a very complex platform. We have roughly 12,000 employees and additional contractors on top of that, spread around the world. We operate in 24 countries. And today, I'm going to just share a little bit about how we've enabled those employees using AI to be more productive, faster moving, and generally more efficient. So where do we start? eBay's been using machine learning for a long time. I mean, machine learning goes back, frankly, decades, right? And we've used it for everything from merchandising. It's a big part of how we operate our whole search infrastructure. We use it extensively in our risk operations. But what really changed, as you all know, is in 2023, generative AI popped onto the scene in a big way, right? I mean, it was just here all of a sudden. And that really changed how we started thinking about AI internally. You know, and I think everybody's had to deal with this, which is how do we use this new form of AI to really empower the enterprise and change how we operate? And as we thought about that, we really, like we said, okay, what does this mean? Is AI an application? No. Is AI a plugin? No. AI is really something that, like I said, is going to fundamentally change what we're doing internally. How do we operate as a business? And what we did is we started to deploy this, and I'll talk a little bit about how we've deployed it. But what we found is that people immediately started gravitating toward it and using it. So today, AI is used to do things like answer questions, do research, rethink processes. On the development side, we're using it extensively. And we use a wide range of tools. We use Claude, we use Cursor, we use Copilot, we use Codex. And you know, which of those do we use the most? That's evolving very quickly. But the point is our development teams are highly engaged with those tools, and that is having a profound impact on how fast we can move. So generally, what I would say is AI is increasing our efficiency, but it didn't come, easy, and it didn't come without a lot of training and enablement. And I think that's one of the key takeaways I want everybody to understand is bringing more tools into your environment it isn't going to make you successful. It does take training, it takes enablement programs to really make those tools useful to your workforce. So, as I thought about this, and I was like, what message do I want to convey? I had these 4 thoughts around what does it mean, to be an AI-enabled workplace, and how did we get there? And I think Nick already hit on a few of these topics earlier in his talk. Building versus buying is a really important concept as you move into the AI era. Where does it make sense to build? Where does it make sense to buy? For us, it's all about context. We have built systems when a lot of eBay context is important, but we've bought in a lot of, you heard me already talk about some of the vendors we work with. We've bought a lot of products because the space is moving incredibly fast, and no company is going to outbuild the biggest companies in the world that are providing these products. So we're making very conscious decisions between build and buy. And frankly, we're also looking at these things in very short time frames. We have to think in weeks and months, not quarters and years. This has been one of the really key things that we've had to deal with is, it used to be you could think about a project, you could roll out one year, you could get the deployment going the next year. That was fine, right? And things would have a lifespan of 5 years, sometimes 10 years, right, in your environment. Right now, since 2023, I can tell you every 6 months, the landscape has changed dramatically for us. So how we think about build, buy, and how we think about how fast things are moving, it's crazy. And I think you've all experienced that. And then I think on that same note is we've really had to embrace experimenting. We don't know what's going to work, right? Nobody knows exactly what's going to work right now. So we have a lot of experiments going on all the time around different AI products. And we're trying to move very quickly with those experiments. And the ones that get traction, we scale out. The ones that don't, we try and put them away, and move on to the next thing. And then the last thing I'll just say is, governance. Again, Nick kind of hit on this a lot. Just in the demo, he was doing it. You can't drop your guard. Governance has to be something that's built in from the beginning in the way you think about AI. You can't just be, well, we're going to move on. We got to move fast, so we don't need governance, right? It has to be a first-class citizen in this discussion. So where did we start? Knowledge management was a really interesting place to jump in for a lot of reasons. Number one, eBay's a 30-year-old company. We have a lot of information out there in the space. Now, I know if you're a bank or some other type of institution, you've been around for 100 years. 30 years doesn't sound like that much. In technology, 30 years is forever, as many people know. So we had a lot of knowledge, and this has always been a really hard problem for us to solve. How do we make that knowledge accessible to our employees? And this was something that AI really stood out as a good solution for. AI is great at basically bringing together information, regenerating it, right? Generative AI, and giving people basically a clear picture of what all that information is across the enterprise. So this was, again, an area where we looked at build versus buy, and we actually ended up in kind of a combo mode. So we use a product called Glean that some of you have probably heard of that's really good at searching across our enterprise, across all of our different data sources, and bringing back data. But then we needed to build some layers on top of that to help guide our employees to finding the right information because it was such a diverse ecosystem we were dealing with. But this has been incredibly valuable. And it has really raised the floor for every employee in terms of being able to find information inside the company and kind of learn new skills. What used to be locked up silos are now generally available pools of information that anybody can access. And it's also been something that's been very well received in terms of people saying, hey, I can see now how AI can make my life better as opposed to something that's just being forced on them. The challenge with just focusing on knowledge management when we started it's a hard thing to measure. How are we actually getting improvement in the ecosystem? We rolled this out broadly. Every employee's using it. I said we have roughly 12,000 employees. Our adoption is roughly 12,000 on any given month. Everybody uses it. The challenge, though, is what's the ROI? It's very hard to measure that when you're just saying we're raising the floor for everybody. So then we started thinking about, okay, where do we go next? What can we do that gives us more measurable outcomes? And this is where we start thinking about, how do we embed AI into some of the actual workflows we have? Because with workflows, we know it's easier to quantify the specific benefits, right? We already measure our workflows. We know how long it takes to process a PO or how long it takes to do a support request. So we basically looked at all of the different workflows and we picked some of them and said, these are areas that we can basically use AI, not to completely replace the workflow because that's a big lift, but how can we use AI to enhance the work, do some portion of it? So we've said, maybe we can generate some of the content in the workflow. Maybe we can pull back some data that we need, that historically the person in the workflow has had to gather manually. So workflow enhancement was the next big area that we really focused on. And this has had, I think, this has had some really good successes. And it's also had some areas where it hasn't worked, where we've tried to do things and it just hasn't had the outcome we wanted. But I think the key here is, by using AI as a portion of your workflow, you really can make progress, and it doesn't require a fundamental rethink of what you're doing. I think, we definitely, and I'll talk about this a little toward the end, we definitely have this mindset of, okay, we'll completely re-engineer everything with AI, but that's a huge lift, right? And it's also very scary for people. So if you think about sort of traditional workflows that you have, and you think about where can we insert AI into some portion of it to make that move much faster or take friction out of it, it's a really good way to get started. So I'm going to share a few use cases where we've done that to kind of help you better understand what I mean by putting AI into a workflow, an existing workflow. The first use case, and again, this really speaks to the sort of 30-year history at eBay, it is providing a single portal for all of our internal developers to get their questions answered. So eBay, like I said earlier, is a big, complex marketplace that has many, many different services. We have roughly 3,000 microservices that make up eBay. It's really hard when you're developing at eBay to get answers to your questions. And what we historically had was one engineer slacking another engineer saying, tell me more about your service, or tell me more about how I can do this, or I need to learn about the infrastructure. How do I deploy this? How do I do that? Really inefficient, because it's basically slow for the developer that's trying to learn, but it's also taking away time from the developer that has to answer the question. So this is a place where we basically injected AI and said, hey, we can make that whole flow much more efficient by creating agents for each of these teams. Actually, each team created their agent, their support agent. We route it all through a central portal that knows how to basically dynamically route to the right agent. And now a developer can ask a question, get an answer from the agent that's supporting this particular area, whether it's deployment or some particular service. And in most cases, this is actually working really well. The great thing here is when it's not working, when they don't get a good answer, it actually routes it back to the actual team that's responsible for that area. So we still have that human in the loop concept, and most of the time we don't need it, but when we do need it, you've got somebody there to backstop the agent. So that's an example of how you can inject AI into an existing process and really make it much more efficient. I mean, you can see from the metrics, we've had really good success with this so far. And what I think was most interesting about this is both the developers that were asking questions and the developers that were providing answers were happy with it. So it was like that was a huge win, because it's easy to make the developer asking a question happy. You just give them an instant answer all the time, right? But that's a lot of load on the provider side. It's easy to make the providers happy. You just tell them nobody's going to ask you questions anymore, right? And then they're happy, like I can go on doing my job. So this was a big win. Another area in a completely different space where we've had good success is we have, again, this massive marketplace, customers all over the world. And yes, there's all sorts of problems that come up, right? It's a complicated thing to do a transaction across the globe. And so often buyers and sellers have questions or problems about their transactions or things that they need to do. If these are actual bugs in our system or just anomalies in behavior, those can't be directly answered by a customer support agent. They have to basically then file a request with a product development team to do research, on that and figure out what went wrong. Again, that's super time consuming. It's bad for our customers because it takes a long time to get answers, and it's bad for our developers because it's distracting them from doing their jobs. We built some agents again that basically enable our customer support people to now ask much more specific questions about these problems directly to the agents. The agents actually go out and collect all the data and compose an answer. And in many cases now, the customer support agents are able to fully diagnose and triage the customer's problem without having to involve the product development team. Again, big win, much faster for our external customers, takes load off our internal developers, and of course our customer support teammates are much happier because they're able to do their jobs much more efficiently. A third area where we've had success, and this will be the last example I give, but I could go on about others, and again in a completely different area again here. Here our shared services organization had a similar type of problem. They get many internal requests about expenses, purchase orders, invoices, expense reports. People are always having, some sort of question about, when's this vendor going to get paid? Or, why is this invoice not, being processed? Or, I filed my expense report and it's not, I'm not getting paid. And again, this was a completely different space. Now we're talking about financial services internally. We're talking about systems like SAP, Ariba, Concur. But we wanted to say, hey, how can we offload this work, from the shared services team in a way that, again, gives our internal employees faster access to answers without having to, do something, extraordinary. So again, we built some agents, built a portal that gave the individual employees access to ask these type of questions. And it had a lot of success here, with offloading work, having agents do some of the work, but still having humans in the background, if you needed them. So it didn't mean the shared services team didn't still own this, but it just took load off them and allowed them to do other things. So these are just 3 examples where we're able to use AI in existing workflows and really help, like I said, take load off teams, speed up customer response, whether it's internal customers or external customers, and generally just do a better job, a more efficient job. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the lessons that we've learned in all of this, because obviously there are lessons to be learned. The most important lesson, and I think, again, you all know this, the pace of change. It's crazy, right? What I said before, we have to operate in weeks and months now, not quarters and years. What's interesting, though, is the rest of it isn't that different. It's still people, process, technology, and of course a layer of governance over that. So that's what has really been, again, you saw in the intro, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've been at eBay for a long time. Everything I am seeing with AI is a repeat of things we've seen before. The patterns are the same. The technology transformation isn't that different. What is fundamentally different, though, is how fast we're having to move to keep up with it. And what I will say is the biggest challenge is the people. this is a really hard thing for people to adopt and grasp and internalize and really, be successful with. The people that are curious are the people that are succeeding. The people that want everything to stay the same are the ones falling behind. On the process side, what I would say is, don't let anybody tell you this isn't an engineering problem. AI, it is not making everybody a software developer. I'm sorry, for all those companies out there that are saying it's true. And yes, we can vibe code things, but if you want production quality, which we all want, if you want security, if you want reliability, this is still an engineering problem. And you've got to still apply all of your engineering practices to it. On the technology side, I think I've said this already. It's about being willing to experiment and be willing to throw things out and try new things. It's changing so rapidly. Again, when we started, just going back to developer tools, Copilot was it. GitHub Copilot was the thing, right? That's what everybody was using. That's what we adopted. Then it was Cursor, and everybody had to have Cursor, and that was the hot thing. Probably in the last 6 months, it's much more about Claude. Everybody wants Claude code. And this is 2 years, right? This is 2 years that we're talking about. Like I said, in the old world, we could go 10 years without this kind of change, right? So we really have to be open to change and basically picking the things that work. And it's hard because as you get scale, it's much harder to change. So that's why be nimble and move as fast as you can. The thing I'd say about governance, and this is probably the hardest part, is you have to find a way to say yes without compromising your principles, right? You need to stay secure. You need to still do things the right way, but you have to find a way to say yes. It's super easy with AI, and the speed of change and the sort of all the hype around this to just say no, but that's not going to get you anywhere, right? So you've got to figure out internally how to say yes, but not compromise, and that's hard. All right, just to close, I want to share a little bit about what's on my mind, where are we going? What are the things that I'm thinking about, as we got as we get into 2026, but it's already May, right? So it's like, where's 2026 going? It's moving fast. These are sort of a few challenges and opportunities that are on my mind, and really this is what, I'm thinking about a lot. The first is agentic agents. Again, Nick kind of mentioned this earlier. I talked about AI kind of assisting in workflows. Agentic agents are truly personal assistants or agents that are running autonomously in the background. And the way we think about this is we believe that every employee is going to have a personal assistant, and that personal assistant is going to engage with other agents that are running autonomously in the background doing processes, and only involving the employee or the human when needed in that loop. So this whole concept of basically agents talking to agents and doing work, it is real, it's coming, and it's something that we're very focused on. That's the opportunity, because that's just a huge unlock in terms of the way your business operates. And yes, maybe eventually they'll reboot a router for you, I don't know. But that is coming. What's the challenge, and again, Nick hit this earlier, identity is a massive challenge with agents. This is something that is not solved yet. You can have agents working on your behalf, right? So they can use your identity, but do you really want an agent that has all of the permissions you have? The ability to reboot a router? I don't think so, right? So how do you control agents working on your behalf? How do you delegate only certain tasks to them? Or on the other side is we can give agents their own identities, right? But again, how do we do that? How do we accurately and securely give an agent an identity? They don't have passports. They don't have government IDs. How do you know how to control that agent and and authenticate what that agent really is? So that's one of the big things when I think about the challenges with agentic AI. How do we handle the identity side of it and really get that right across the enterprise? On the opportunity side, I mean, you truly can create magical experiences with AI. So the best example I can give here is we rolled out a whole new consumer selling app that we call our Magical Listing app on the mobile device. It's fully AI enabled. I mean, the whole entire app is now an AI app. You literally can take 2 pictures of an item and you're done. It's listed on eBay. This is incredible. I mean, if you ever sold on eBay, especially, a few years ago, it was multiple screens, a lot of data input. You had to figure out how to ship. You had to figure out how to price. It was complicated. And that inhibited, especially small customers from wanting to list. We rolled out this AI-enabled app. We've seen a 50% increase in our listing creation rate from these small sellers. Basically, it's customer sat is at 95% for this app. I mean, this is incredible. This is what we mean by like AI creating magical experiences. You really can transform old things into something completely new. And that's amazing. Internally, I think it's a little harder to have quite that magical experience because, processing POs just isn't magical, but, you can do amazing things internally also. It's just not quite as much fun, which is why I use the site example here. The last challenge I want to hit on, and again, I think you've probably all felt this, is the vendor and product sprawl that's happening in the AI space. Every vendor now is an AI vendor. I mean, tell me one vendor that is not, has not transformed themselves to being AI first, AI enabled, right? It's everywhere. And then the number of new products that are AI specific products is just overwhelming. And so how do you control what comes into your enterprise? How do you decide, which vendors are going to be the leading vendors, which ones are going to be the following vendors? This sprawl is massive. And the thing I would say on top of it is right now, at least for us, most of this is incremental spend on top of all the existing spend that we have on vendors, right? I mean, one is not replacing the other. Right now, this is all net new. So the sprawl is both a complex challenge, in terms of management, but it's a financial challenge. And this is something that we've all got to get a handle on as we move forward. So again, thank you for having me. These were just some thoughts I had on our journey, very high level, but wanted to give you kind of some insights to where we're going as a company. And with that, again, thank you.
John, thank you. Stay right here. We want to give you an award to thank you for the time that you put into this and to share.
Oh, thank you very much.
So Peter has an award. I do have something, staff wrote up something really nice for me to read, but I can't top what you just did. That was really just such a great presentation and such great insights about what's working, what's not working, what the challenges are, where the great opportunities are. So, John, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on in, to prepare this, and to be able to share so much with everyone. So, John, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So we'd like to present you with, we give out every once in a while a Thought Leadership Award for those who show exemplary thought leadership and sharing. And we'd like to present that to you now. So, John, thank you again for sharing so much.
Yeah. Thank you again.
John. Okay. Great. And can we take a photo? Peter, come on in. Okay.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.